Alright, hello folks, this is Aaron DeBruin once again, Final Freak 89, here to give you an update on the situation. Sorry for not having an update earlier today. I ran into some computer issues and was unable to get that done. But we're going to just take a quick look at what's going on now and how the March 5th evolution is going to affect what's going to happen March 8th. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Currently you can see our southern branch disturbance is sitting up here. It did in fact run out in front, like the GFS had predicted. Good job there in the last stance. Although it's not going to affect our system as much as earlier thought. Definite positive tilt of the system, and the 0Z GFS last night did an excellent job predicting where the system was going to be about 24 hours from now. We are looking at the verification of what we've been looking at over the last few days. Low trying to cut off sitting down here, and that's going to probably make it track something like this over the next couple of days. And it's going to bring a pretty intense rainstorm to areas of the southeast, mid-Atlantic, and southern New England, and there could certainly be some flooding problems with this situation as we go on throughout time. So let's go ahead and just take a look once again to recap what the GFS had and what's going to verify for this upcoming solution. So when we take a look back at the GFS, you can see again it had a good idea about the positively tilted trough in here. A little bit too much of a negative tilt out front. Jet was a little too strong. No big deal. Move on to 12Z today. You can see much of the same. It was backing it up a little bit, got a little bit into it. Still incorrect with the strong jet in here, and a little bit too much of a negative tilt to the trough. So once we look at the verification, this is valid. This is the 0Z GFS valid 6 hours from now, and it's pretty much 6Z at this point. So we're close to the verification. You can see it's done a pretty good job. Here's the cutoff low. And we have, again, our positively tilted trough axis sitting in here. And notice the much weaker jet sitting up here. There is no 120 knot layer. There's nothing of that sort. So what's going to happen, again, is this is going to allow this cutoff low to take a track a little bit further to the south and almost northeast as it moves through New England. So, which could give some interesting solutions, as I had mentioned last night, for some snow and ice back in this corridor in here. So while overall not a big blizzard threat, but definitely a big severe weather threat anywhere in the areas I'm highlighting right now, this is where you could see a severe weather threat, including tornadoes on Monday and Tuesday. Definitely an interesting situation with this cutoff low tracking across the country. Now, let's take a look at what the GFS is doing with the evolution of this cutoff low, as this is very important to our March 8th storm. We're going to first go ahead and take a look at 60 hours from now. So this is valid 12Z Wednesday, once the low's pretty much tracking through New England. And you can see the cutoff low is starting to weaken in here. But look at this. We have separate disturbances. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is these guys right in here are going to be our big players for the March 8th system, and there's actually going to be one more that comes behind. But look at this, 1, 2, 3. Look at that. That's just a nasty configuration. Two disturbances that probably wanted to phase, with one sitting in the middle. If these had all gotten together, we would be dealing with quite a bomb of a storm. But timing didn't work out, and that's what we're dealing with. Now, here's where there could be some problems. We've seen the GFS repeatedly be too fast with this disturbance out front, and we went through this. We showed it to you. I showed it to you in the last couple of days how it was going to continue to back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. So I see no reason for that to not continue as we get on to this time frame on Tuesday and Wednesday. And so I fully expect a jet configuration to look much more like this, with a stronger cutoff low sitting in here, and this system in here to be much more phased in with our main system sitting out front. What that's going to allow there to do is you're going to be able to build the heights in this region in here. And what's that going to do? That's going to force this cutoff low to dig deeper. Now, what's the significance of that? Well, we have this piece of energy that's coming from over the top. It's trying to dig down into this system, and it sort of gets split off into two pieces. You have this piece sitting in here, which tries to go out front, and it drags this piece down along with it. Now, sitting way behind in here, we have yet another disturbance, which is what's going to, this energy sitting right in here is what's going to eventually try to create our so-called coastal low on the tail end of yet another frontal system on Saturday. And my concern is if this is too fast, you get, with the first system, then you get this system to be slower, this can phase in quicker and can give time for this whole piece of energy to dive more into the system. And so what you end up with is a deeper trough and maybe even a little bit stronger cutoff low. So if we move on to 84 hours, you can start to see the evolution of the system. Here's our cutoff low in here, in good position to become a 50-50 low. And again, if some of the energy that was sitting in here is more phased in with the system, which eventually you can see, it's all sort of gathered into this one main system sitting up here. But if it's more phased in to start out with, we might have a deeper low, something that is a configuration looking more like this, which is going to allow to pump the heights up toward Greenland, set up that NAO, negative NAO configuration, if just for a few days, and you can get more of a classic 50-50 low in the position. What is that going to do? That's going to slow down this disturbance in here, which is this is the conglomeration of the disturbance we saw in here and the one that was originally up here, which has been replaced by the other disturbance that's moved over the top of this ridge. And you can see that's what a ridge does. Look, we had a trough, okay, and in about let's see, 60 to 84 is 24 hours, we saw this do this. In the same amount of time, because we have this ridge, because we have this blocking situation in here, a storm could only ride over the top like this, much slower progression, and that's my concern. You build more heights out front, a little bit of a ridge in this area, and you can get this whole system to slow down, cut off in here, and then it gives time for this to dump in the classic position to get a phase, and you end up with your storm up along the east coast. Now, am I saying this is going to happen? No, but it is something we definitely need to keep our eye on, and we do need to watch the configuration once we get into Wednesday, as that will be a very big key for our situation on March 8th. So the eventual evolution of this is the first system ends up out in front here. Here comes the second system. So they're pretty close. It's not like the trough does eventually slow down. Again, ridge out front, a little bit of a weak ridge up in eastern Canada, but nothing too strong. And so eventually things do slow down, because remember, you're not seeing this system race all the way out front. It's still sort of stuck behind, so you're close to a phase. Yeah, there's a negative tilted trough, but look at what this. You have a very broad-based trough. You don't have a nice sharp trough, which is what you'd like to see when you want to see a good East Coast snowstorm, because you have a piece of energy sitting back here. You have a piece in here. Again, this piece of energy is what moved down from Canada. You have this piece in here, which is the first piece that moved down from Canada, like this, and you have another piece of energy out front, which was the initial disturbance that was sitting in here. So things do get quite convoluted with this setup and situation. And as we go on through the day, I'm going to update you. Probably going to go to just one update per evening. Probably looking at either the 12 or 18Z runs of the GFS, and I might throw in the Euro and the Canadian if need be at the time. But for right now, this is the situation we need to watch. We need to watch what's going to happen with our storm on March 5th. I don't think it's a done deal yet, especially for interior sections of northern New England. You certainly could be dealing with some snow and ice. And the evolution of that system, and especially the system that comes behind it, is key to determining the evolution of our system for March 8th. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is this pattern is not done yet. If you folks think that after March 8th we have lost every chance we have at seeing a snowstorm this season, I'm sorry to say, but you're mistaken. The long-range modeling is pointing to an interesting setup with a continual split flow, maybe not as favorable pattern, and as we get on further into March we start to have to deal with sun angle and issues like that. And overall warmer climatological temperatures. But it's not done, but this is certainly our prime period between March 7th through 9th. Definitely the prime period if everything can play together right. So as we've heard so many times this year, it's about threading the needle, it's about timing, and it's about getting these systems to configure themselves right. Alright folks, for Eastern USWX, this is Final Freak 89 Aaron, wishing you a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video update.